What's up? Hey, hello everyone. Wow, so today we are back doing the most fun Survivor video of every single season. Today we are going to be talking about our Survivor Season 44 cast assessment. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and we're so excited. Survivor Season 44 is coming up. So the cast, they had their little bios posted. They had some short videos about them. So we read their bios, we watched their videos, and as always, when we do these kind of cast assessments, I feel like I need to remind everyone that you still don't really get to know someone based on, the short clips that we get to see, the little bits of their lives that they show us in these videos. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is our initial reactions, first reactions here, and like Alyssa said, it's sort of random. You can't really know someone in 30 seconds of them talking in a video and like 5 questions that they answer in text. So, I feel like overall thoughts for the cast, it feels like to me that there's a lot of like archetypes that they're casting. It seems like, okay, season 41, 42, 43, I'm seeing version 2.0 of people that we saw in 41, 42, and 43 here. It's sort of like deja vu weird.
Yeah, some of them I was just like, wow, you just copy pasted. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see kind of the archetypes that they're going for. I also thought it was interesting because quite a few of these people did point to people from 41, 42, 43 as their or I guess 41 and 42 as
Yeah.
the people I want to play like. And that's interesting because I feel like a lot of times we get the same classic answers, and we did get some of these classic answers too in this batch of people, but I feel like there was also a lot of, I don't want to say recency bias, but there was a lot of people saying that they admired more recent players. So that was
It
cool.
stood out to me. There's a lot of Jeremy, a lot of Natalie, a lot of Erica, and a lot of Marianne, which makes sense for people on 43 or for 44 here. They didn't see 43 since these are filmed back to back. And so, okay, the 2 most recent winners got mentioned a lot with Erica and Marianne. That makes sense. A lot of people did mention like Jeremy and Natalie from their first season and also winners at War. So I guess that also makes sense with the pandemic. Season 40 would be one that you probably watch right before going out there again. So I'm like, okay, interesting. Not just all Boston Robs and Parvati's this time.
Yeah, I think also part of it is when we are seeing an increase in diverse cast members, and I think that part of it is Jeremy and Natalie are two of the more recent people of color to have won the game. And I think that that's important because when you're looking for someone to model yourself after, you want to see someone who looks like you. So I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, and same with Erica and Marianne as POC and women of color too, as well, especially for a lot of the women on this cast mentioned Erica and Marianne and emulating their games. And even some of the men said that too. So very interesting. I also thought it was interesting. A lot of the people here, they said that they're big fans of the show, super fans, or they've been watching since day one. So it'll be interesting if these people are all sort of game body or if they're big fans of the show, but they can actually play the show well.
Yeah, I will be interested to see that too. So
It also seems like there's a lot, I guess, an older cast. We have some of those younger 20s, but it seems like it's like, okay, 25 and up, but no one is over 50. So feels older because there's more 30, 40 year old people, but there's no one above 50.
yeah, I think it's the average is older, but the range isn't as wide. So
Okay. I also noticed there's a lot of corporate people. These are like, okay, sort of white collar workers, a lot of them, which I thought was interesting. Usually there's more of a mix of like, okay, white collar, blue collar, no
no
collar.
collar.
But yeah, it seems like a lot of these people have like that kind of office job or they used to work an office job.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of interesting. Again, I think we've talked about this in other videos, But part of it has to be like who is able to like get
Mm,
the time off of work in order to be able to come out on Survivor. Because I feel like, if you're working like a lower income job and you can't necessarily take like 2 months off of work to go film in Fiji, it's kind of like, do you really want to take the gamble that you might end up coming in last place and only getting like a $1,000 appearance fee as opposed to, $1 million? So, yeah.
yeah, it's like, okay, who can leave their families? Who can leave their kids? Who has people that can watch their kids or can quit their job? We have people quitting their jobs to come onto the show. So it is very interesting. Okay, like what kind of person or lifestyle is able to afford to be able to leave for 1 to 2 months to go on TV? And I guess that's why, okay, you see a lot of younger people be able to do the show because if you don't have kids, then it's a lot easier to like, oh, bye everyone, I'm leaving.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to think about. And I wonder if like pandemic related stuff made it so different people were less able to, um, come out and play
Mm-hmm.
Survivor because, pandemic hard. So,
Yeah, I also noticed a lot of these people seem very athletic. We had multiple people in the cast mention that they do marathons or ultra marathons, which I'm like, dang, okay. Running is becoming very, very popular. It makes sense. Running you can do for free. You don't need to join a gym. You can go do it outside. And I'm like, all of my coworkers run marathons pretty much. And I'm like, wow, I guess we got to start running because everyone's running nowadays.
yeah, it's. I don't understand people who think that running is fun, but you do you. And I wish you all the best. So,
So for this cast, Alyssa and I, we have our PowerPoint again. And so everyone can see. We will go through all of these people, talk about our first impressions, and then their photo will appear on screen. And I felt like when we first started doing the PowerPoint last season, this was very helpful rather than just saying up a name. Now we can actually visualize, okay, who are we talking about? And once the season starts, and we're like, ah, I already know all these people by face rather than and just the name.
yeah. So, I think that was always difficult for me, the whole thing of not being able to remember their face, because I'd be like, oh, yeah, I know that like Claire is from New York and is a tech investor, but could I tell you which one Claire is? Absolutely not.
So, starting off, we have Claire. She is 25 from Illinois originally. Now she's in New York and a tech investor, like Alyssa said. I feel like Claire just seems so fun and nice. Like, I would want to be friends with her in real life. Just from this photo, she's got good vibes emanating from this one photo.
Yeah, she's like the same age as us, also. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, I thought it was interesting. She was one of those people who was like, Survivor has always been my dream. She said, Survivor has been my dream since I was 4. And so I think it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people have a stereotype of what a Survivor fan looks like. Like when I tell people that I watch Survivor, they kind of get confused because they think that Survivor fans are either like older white women or like really geeky young dudes. And so I feel like we don't necessarily look like a Survivor stereotype. She doesn't necessarily look like a Survivor stereotype. So I'm wondering if she's going to be one of the people who's like open about the fact that she is like a super fan, or if she's just not going to mention the fact that she loves the show. So
Yeah, she mentioned 3 words to describe herself would be energetic, motivated, cunning. I could see that from her. She says in an alliance partner, she values loyalty over everything. She loves someone who appears to be a bigger threat than her so that she can use them as a shield puppet without them realizing. I thought that was good strategy, something interesting to talk about in these cast bios because you always want to see, okay, you want to get in the partnership where one person is a bigger threat and you're seen as less threatening. So if you're splitting votes, they're trying to get rid of the more threatening partner. But also on the flip side, it's a little bit scary because you could fall into, oh, they're just the number two. The number one person is telling them everything to do. They don't have their own agency. So I'd be interested to see how Claire could navigate that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you might be able to get to the end, but will you be able to win? Like, that's one thing. And then also, I feel like we talked in this hasn't been as big of a problem in recent seasons, but I feel like definitely in the 30s, we talked a lot about how, alliance partners, they wouldn't necessarily take out the more threatening person. They would take
Mm-hmm.
out their second hand because the idea is like, oh, without their second hand, they won't have as much power. And we also talked throughout a lot of the 30s about how a lot of times it would be they would vote out a woman to weaken a man. And so I wonder, like, how that would look for Claire specifically.
Oh, wow. I think the first season we started podcasting, Alyssa, was 31. So we've actually hit over 10 seasons. That's wild.
Yikes.
I was like, oh,
We
in
don't
the
need to talk
30s?
about
Wow.
that.
Yeah, but I really like Claire. She has good vibes and like you said, similar age. So I feel like I could see a lot of myself in Claire. So I hope she does well because we're sort of similar.
Yeah. I mean, also, for the player that you will play most like, she said a winner. And I feel like I say this every time we do a cast assessment, but it peeves me when people are like, I want to play the most like a player who lost. So I'm like, dude, they lost. So, yeah.
So, next up, we have Matt, who is 27 from California, still in California, and he's a security software engineer. In his bio, he says that he's good at pivoting, talked a lot about how he fails at things, failing to get a job, failing to get into college, failing to get into Survivor for the first time. And so he has had to constantly pick himself up and continue trying again and again to get these things that he's wanted to accomplish. And I feel like that's a good thing for a survivor, being able to be knocked down like he has, but also keep on trying, keep on applying to school, keep on applying to jobs, rather than like, oh, I was rejected once, I'm never going to try again, or feel defeated about that. So I really liked that attitude that he talked about.
Yeah. He also is someone I would classify as like a Survivor fan, if not a Survivor super fan. Said that he wanted to apply to Survivor 10 years ago. And it's only recently that like he actually applied and got in. So that's interesting. I thought also he said that he wanted an alliance partner who he like genuinely connects with because in his words, the days of riding coattails are over. So I think that's kind of a new perspective because I feel like a lot of people say they want an alliance member they can puppet or an alliance member who will be an easy vote for them. But I think recognizing that, a lot of people are good at the game and it's not going to be super easy to find someone who's just willing to follow you around like a little duckling. So,
I also found that alliance partner answer really interesting. I wrote that down in my notes as well. He also says in that answer that he wants someone that he can talk frankly and openly discuss ways that can mutually benefit him and the alliance mate. I thought that was interesting as well. Like you were saying, it seems like, okay, people want that like Dom and Wendell kind of relationship, even though they didn't see 43. Okay, a maybe Cody and Jesse kind of relationship where you have someone who is as good at the game as you, that you can bounce ideas off of one another, rather than, okay, this person's an easy vote. So maybe you want, okay, your number one is the person that you can bounce ideas and talk to each other about different plans, strategize together, and then you surround yourself with people that maybe aren't thinking for themselves or aren't thinking in their best interest, more of the follower people.
yeah. And I think when you said Cody and Jesse, what you really mean is Cody, Jesse, and Gabler. So,
You're right.
check yourself.
I think Matt also seems fun. I would want to be friends with Matt in real life too.
Yeah, he seems cool. Um, I also enjoy he's not a big fan of peanut butter, and neither am I. And people always act like I have like murdered their grandmother when I tell them that I don't like peanut butter. So yeah.
I guess Matt wouldn't be good for Winners at War on the edge of extinction with all the peanut butter there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like a lot of times Survivor like uses peanut butter because it's like a cheap protein. And if you're not into that, because they also have like PB&Js as
Mhm.
rewards for challenges. So good luck, Matt. I hope that you are able to find a different way to get your protein.
So, next up, we have Carolyn. She is 35 from Minnesota, still in Minnesota, and she's a drug counselor. She talks a lot in the bio and in the video about how she wants to share her story, bring hope, how addiction looks different for everybody, and recovery does too. And she says that she's been sober for 13 years. And so I feel like Carolyn seems like such a strong person and such a fun person, having gone through what she's gone through and have come out the other side. And she also has a son. I'm like, she's super inspiring.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because people do have like an idea of what an addict looks like. And I feel like, again, she doesn't necessarily look the way a lot of people think that an addict would look, except for maybe the tattoos. But that's a whole different rabbit hole to go down. So I think um, it's interesting because like drug counselors mostly work with people who have been addicted to drugs, obviously, but I feel like they also have a lot of the same like qualities as therapists do, where like they have to be good at talking to people and have to be good about like getting people to open up. And so I feel like maybe that could be a benefit in the game as well, where, you know, if you're used to talking to people all day, you're used to getting people to open up to you, it's not going to be
Mm.
that much more difficult.
That's interesting, true. Like asking the kinds of questions that people would feel comfortable sharing, and you're not really threatening to the person you're talking to, but oh, I feel vulnerable. And whenever you share something vulnerable about yourself to someone else, you instantly feel closer to that person. So I wonder if she would be able to do that kind of talking to people. And I feel like the answers Carolyn was giving in like the bio, it was very in depth. Like she has many different sides to her versus some other people answering the questions. They sort of answered them very short, or they said the same kind of thing for every single answer. So I feel like we got to learn a lot about Carolyn from the bio. And I feel like people would be drawn to her. She has that kind of fun, out there energy, and she's self aware. She knows and she says that she is loud. And so she says, okay, I probably am more like a Nora rather, but I'd want to be like a Wentworth or a Parvati, but she's self-aware that she might be more like a Nora.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because someone else, I'm already forgetting who of the castaways we went through. Someone else said, like, you know, it's okay if you're like loud, it's okay if you're annoying as long as you own it. And I feel like that would be something that maybe attracts them to Carolyn because it's like, you know, you are loud, but you're willing to like admit to the fact that you can be loud and annoying. And that's different from people who pretend that they're not what they are. So
Yeah, like self-righteous people. I feel like Carolyn
mm-hmm.
would be able to build authentic connections with Alliance members, and she says she wants to do that in the bio, which I feel like is good and bad. It could be a double-edged sword. Okay, great. You can build these authentic connections. People trust you, people want to work with you, but once you get to the jury stage, people could be super offended if you blindside them and you vote them out, and then maybe they don't want to vote for you to win the game because they're potentially bitter at the end, like, yo, I thought we were so close, I told you all of these super deep things about myself, how could you vote me out? So it'll be interesting to see if she's able to form these authentic connections, but how does she navigate voting these people out if they've told her their deepest darkest secrets?
Yeah, and I think that part of it is like it really depends on the people because there are
Mm.
some people where it's like, yeah, you stabbed me in the back, but I still really respect the game that you played versus people who are like, I thought we were I thought we were each other's everything. So I think that is part of like the social strategy of Survivor of, am I able to determine whether or not I can betray this person without them getting bitter? And if they are going to be a bitter person, then what can I do to make it so they're not bitter? Like, can I shove the blame onto someone else? Stuff like that.
Vote them out pre-merge. No issue unless they come back. But I think it will be very interesting. And I think with the cast of mostly big fans or super fans, people will probably be less bitter and more willing to have their eyes opened and be like, okay, pat on the back. That was actually a good move, even if I'm secretly butthurt about it.
Yeah, I think people will say that they are like fine with it, but actually still secretly be bitter. Just because, like, you can still respect the game and respect, that the other person outplayed you, but still be disappointed, So,
Exactly. So next up, we have Jam Jam. He is 36 from Puerto Rico, still in Puerto Rico, and he is a salon owner. I feel like working in the salon will be very helpful for him going into the game. He talks about a lot of gossip at the beauty salon, so I feel like as someone working there, working as like a hairdresser, you are talking to your clients. He's probably a very good listener. I feel like it could be very similar to like a bartender or, like you were saying, a therapist, where people are paying them to do some service and they're listening, but they can also ask those pointy questions to get those people to trust them and talk about things that maybe they wouldn't share in their real life.
yeah. I also feel like that's like a more physical job than most people, give it credit for, being a hairdresser, because you're on your feet all day. So
Hmm.
I would say that he probably is like stronger and has better stamina than most people would expect if you just say like, "Oh, I'm a hairdresser."
That's interesting. I love his cat shirt. So anyone with cats or dogs or animals on their shirt, I'm like, this is amazing. I want this shirt that he's wearing in this photo. I love it.
I feel like so many people have excellent shirts. There I forget who it was. I'm so forgetful, but someone else had like an awesome patterned shirt that they were wearing. So when they
Yeah.
come up, I'll yell about it, I'm sure. But
Oh, I want this one. If anyone knows where to buy it, please comment because this shirt is just so cool and I would wear it a lot. Um,
yeah.
Jam Jam says that he wants to play like Suri, which I thought was a very fascinating answer. Also, a good pick considering the outcome of The Traitors, which just aired. Obviously, last year when filming, he wouldn't have known Suri was about to go on another TV show. But I'm like, okay, now it's topical given the show that Suri was just on.
Yeah, I guess I can forgive him for not saying a winner because Suri did win something.
But I feel like Jam Jam definitely comes across better in the video rather than the answers. The short answers were sort of for me, but he had a lot of fun energy in the video. He was very high energy, talkative, like someone you would want to talk to and be friends with because he just seems like a cool guy.
Yeah.
So, next up, we have Lauren, who is 31 from Texas, still in Texas, and she is an elementary school teacher. She talks a lot about being a single parent, talks about her kids and motherhood. She seems very adaptable, talks about going through a divorce, and she was going to use that adaptability in Survivor, which I think is a good trait to have. I think we already talked about it with Matt about all the failing. Here, it seems like Lauren would be good at, okay, picking up the pieces, or this didn't work out for me. How can I pivot similar to Matt and change my strategy in order to get what I want?
Yeah, I also feel like elementary school teacher, you probably get really used to people being cranky and annoying. So that seems like it would be really useful on the island. So that's just my thoughts.
And I guess mother energy as like a young student, like a young teacher, like a teacher of young people. You're around kids all the time. She has 2 young kids. There's quite a few parents on this cast, so she could bond with the other parents and talk about kids or, all that jazz. So that could be something she relates to other people on. She says she wants to be a quiet strategist like Erica.
Yeah, again, we are getting like more recent winners being brought up. I do hope if there's another Erica type winner this time around that they edit her better, but that's neither here nor there. So, yeah. She also has a really fun shirt. I like that pattern and like those colors are
Mm.
really like it gives me elementary school teacher vibes, but in a good way.
Yeah, that is a nice shirt.
Yeah.
So, next up, we've got Danny, who is 32 from New York, still in New York, and he is a firefighter. We mentioned this with other firefighters, like with Mike and Jeremy. To be a firefighter, you've got to be strong. Literally, firefighter training is intense and you have to do so much stuff and be so physically fit. So like Danny, just looking at him, you can see, okay, he's buff, he's athletic. He talks about jujitsu in his bio, and he also ran a 34-mile ultra marathon. So he's one of the ultra marathoners here. And I'm like, dang, he would be a good physical asset for your team.
Yeah, I feel like he's not quite like Jonathan level, where I
Mm-hmm.
feel like he could carry an entire team, but he definitely is strong enough that I feel like there aren't as many like super buff guys this season, which kind of a good thing, but also like you would want him on your team. His answers were pretty short in his like Q&A section, but he seems like a nice guy, I guess. It just seems like there wasn't a lot there.
I thought he also seemed like a nice guy. He talked about being insecure about his body, his voice, and his speech. And so it seems like from his past he has grown and he seems like a very like welcoming and caring person because of the stuff that he went through and like being insecure about his physical appearance. He said his pet peeves were bullies. So it seems like, okay, he wouldn't be the one bullying you, but he would stand up against people getting bullied. So that's a good quality to have. And 3 words to describe himself, he says kind, passionate, and determined. So, like looking at him, he says, okay, I might come off as a bro-ish jerk, but I'm actually not that way. And so he says he wants to be nice and kind and fun, sort of giving me like Cody energy a little bit. So it seems like, okay, just by looking at him, he might be intimidating, but actually he's more lovable deep down.
Yeah, he's like a teddy bear, but a teddy bear who doesn't look like a teddy bear. So,
Yeah, so I guess really like Mike Turner then.
yeah. I thought also it was really sweet because he said that like his inspiration in his life was his mom, but then also he mentioned that one of his inspirations is his sister, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought that was really sweet because a lot of people talk about how much they love their mom, but I think it's not as common to hear people like praising their siblings and all of the things that their siblings do really well. So that was sweet. I liked hearing about his relationship with his sister.
Yeah, so it seems like he seems like a nice dude. Like genuinely, hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah, I feel like part of it is this is hard because these like beginning packages are meant to make you, like these people because they don't want you to come in thinking like, oh, all of these people are boring or all of these people suck because ultimately like you do want to watch TV of people who, you like. So, yeah.
Next up, we've got Heidi, who is 43 from Puerto Rico, and she's now in Pennsylvania. She is an engineering manager. This season, we've got 2 people from Puerto Rico. We've got Heidi and then Jam Jam. So I feel like I haven't looked at the tribes yet. The next video Alyssa and I do will be our tribe assessment. But I feel like if Heidi, Jam Jam, if they're on the same tribe to start, or if they both make the merge or anything like that, they will definitely bond over their shared background.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't say I would say it's pretty uncommon for us to have castaways from Puerto Rico, right? Like
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
say so. At least I feel like Jam Jam is like the first person from Puerto Rico still living in Puerto Rico. Like Sandra is Puerto Rican, but she's not living there, you know?
yeah. That's what I was thinking. Where like Sandra was really the only like Puerto Rican person who I could think of, but then also I'm sure that there have been other people who I just can't remember. So
Yeah, I love Heidi's dress here. I like this
yes,
bright yellow. It's so long too. I want this dress. Same with Jam Jam shirt. Like this is a nice dress.
they are such like fashion icons, and then also I'm always curious about like did they pick this? Did production pick this? Because you know you can tell a lot from someone from their fashion sense. So I'm just saying, great
True.
sense of fashion, great person.
It is interesting because she's an engineering manager. So if you were okay stereotyping, they might put her in a suit to show up on day one with. So it'll be interesting to see, okay, on the island, are they actually wearing what they wore here in their cast photo? So did they let her wear this bright yellow dress? Or were they like, nah, you're an engineering manager, you have to wear the pantsuit out here?
Yeah, I don't know. But I think that's hard though, because if you don't want to be honest about your job, like what if she doesn't want to say she's an engineering manager? You know, would they still
Yeah,
make her wear the pantsuit?
because bright yellow dress, she could totally lie and say some other job. I think like she could be a teacher.
She could be a hippie. So,
But Heidi, she says she is a first generation in the US. She moved to the US at the age of 23, so she's had to learn the language, learn to adapt all by herself and succeed. So I feel like that kind of experience would be very good for Survivor, coming in, not knowing anyone, being able to talk to people, succeed, learn the ropes all on your own. And she also is an athletic lady. She says she does CrossFit and she runs marathons, which I'm like, okay, dang, that is really awesome because just by looking at her, you might not expect her to be super physical. But here she's like, heck yeah, I do CrossFit. So she could be an asset in challenges as well.
yeah. One thing that I just thought of when you mentioned that like she had to learn English coming to America is in Survivor South Africa, we will sometimes see people
Mm.
speaking in different languages that they know. And that's like a way to have a private conversation, or at least a more private conversation. If like you and the person who you're talking to, you know, both speak the same non-English language, then you can, you know, kind of have a side conversation without as much of a risk of people eavesdropping. So if she and Jam Jam are on the same tribe, that would be fun and funky for them to just like have their side conversations in Spanish so that no one can know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting because other people might be able to understand or also speak Spanish. So it'll be interesting to hear. I do wonder with US Survivor if they say, okay, you're not allowed to speak in other languages compared to like Big Brother Canada or Survivor South Africa. There is no like there's multiple official languages of those places, so they can't be like, no, you can only speak English, or no, you can only speak French or whatever. So it's like Big Brother Canada, if the contestants would speak in French, they would subtitle them on the screen, and they can't be like, no, you can't speak that language. So I do wonder for Survivor US, like there's so many languages in the US, can they just say, no, you're not allowed to speak XYZ language?
I mean, since the US doesn't have an official language, I don't think they would be able to do that. If the whole thing is like both French and English are national languages of Canada,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that we learned in our government class that like there is no like national language of the US. Like we use English because that's the language that most people use, but like it's not like official.
Okay. Then yeah, I'd love to see some private conversations of people speaking other languages. Let's subtitle it.
Yeah, I wonder if part of it is like not as many people in the US speak a second language fluently.
Mm.
And then also maybe something about like people don't want to come off a certain way by like purposefully, you know, speaking a language they know other people don't speak. But
That's
I don't
true. And
know.
then to find two people fluent in the same language on the same season might dwindle your
On the
numbers a
same
little more.
tribe too.
Yeah. But Heidi seems really cool. She says she has over 40 patents filed. At my old job, we were working with patents, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think she's neat. So
Yeah. Neato. So next we have Carson, who is 20 from Georgia, still in Georgia, and he is a NASA engineering student. Carson, seems like a big nerd, I guess, in the best way possible, because I guess I would classify Alyssa and I as nerds as well. He says he 3D prints his own survivor puzzles, which I guess sort of we do as well by making our DIY challenges. So maybe we all fall into the same category of survivor nerd.
well, I feel like Carson was definitely one of those people where I was like, oh, they're like casting him as a stereotype.
Mm.
So yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. He says he won't disclose his engineering background, so I do want to know, like, okay, what are you going to say instead? Like, just a student? Are you going to lie about your age, not 20 years old, or are you going to say a different major and just say, yeah, I'm still a student, and maybe not say Georgia Tech as your school? I want to know the game plan there, because I feel like he's got to ditch the glasses. Like he just very looks like someone who's smart.
Why would you not say Georgia Tech as the school? Just like out of curiosity.
Because I guess like Georgia Tech would be known for like STEM majors, and if he's trying to lie about engineering,
Well,
I don't
there's a
know.
lot of majors that are in STEM that aren't engineering. So maybe because I feel like I went to a primarily STEM school and there was still like definite there were feelings about engineering majors specifically. So
Yeah, so I feel like you wouldn't want to say like you go to Georgia Tech or Caltech or MIT and say, because it just has the stereotype of engineering, that kind of thing. So maybe a different Georgia school.
I don't think that Georgia Tech has as strong of an engineering association as you think it does, because I would not have known that. Like from the school name, I can guess the fact that it is like probably a STEM school, but I would not say like engineering specifically. So
Okay. So maybe, yeah, maybe amongst people it doesn't, but I guess I do a lot of like the college admissions stuff. So I'm like, okay, I would, I would not just, I would just, if you're not going to say engineering, I'd pick a different school. But yeah, maybe people aren't aware that it's like a good engineering kind of school. But I want to know, like, okay, what major are you going to say? What school are you going to go to? How are you going to change your look so people don't think you look like a big nerd?
well, I think part of it is like it's easier to keep up a lie if the lie has some grain of truth in it. So I feel like if
Mm,
he's changing his major and he's changing what school he's going to and he's changing, like that's too much. So I feel like
true.
just being like, oh yeah, I'm a senior at Georgia Tech. I'm studying, I don't know, chemistry. Like that's enough of a change that he doesn't get the engineering stigma, but it's not so much of a change that like he's constantly going to be like, shit, what did I tell them? So
He says his pet peeve is people who text him essays, which I thought was sort of funny because all of his answers to the Q&A were so long, literally multiple sentences for every single answer compared to other people writing like 5 words for their answer. I thought it was funny.
yeah, it's like um, the college essays need to meet my minimum word count type thing. But I don't know. I am someone who definitely will text essays, so I can't relate.
Yeah. I'm like, maybe not one big block of text, but I'll split it into smaller blocks and send 10 at once. Because
Yep.
you got to get your message across. I'm like, just send it. And then if they don't, like, they're busy, they can read it all later.
Yeah, especially because like a lot of times in text, you need to say more than you might if it was like a phone call because
Hmm.
the other person like can't hear your tone of voice, so you need to like add like 700 disclaimers of like, and I'm not saying this, but so.
But Carson, It's sort of weird. I saw on Reddit he is selling merch already. So I don't know if that's like a good thing or a bad thing, but it's sort of odd to see someone where the season hasn't even begun airing yet and he's selling like t-shirts and hats and stuff, which I don't know. I feel like if people do have merch, they usually just give it or like sell it at their watch parties or they give it to friends and families for watch parties, not like having your whole website selling merch for you.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of weird because you don't even know how far in the game he gets. Like, yeah. So it seems kind of like a college bro obsessed with himself kind of thing. So, yeah.
It'll be, I don't know if it's like sort of, Zach Ortenberger vibes. And then if your first boot and then you're selling merch, I'm like, this is odd.
Well, maybe that's a sign that he isn't the first boot.
Maybe. So I'm like,
I don't know.
spoilers.
He could also be like one of those, you know how Zach's whole thing basically now is that he's in love with Marianne. So
Mm.
it could be one of those things where like, I know I didn't make it far in the game, but I could be the guy who sells a lot of merch and they'll have to invite me back.
True. I guess you got to pay for college somehow. It's a private school, so I guess that's some passive income.
Sure.
So next up, we have Maddie, who is 28 from Maryland, now in New York, and says she was a charity project manager, but also in the video she says she was an executive assistant to a CEO, but she quit the job to go on Survivor. From Maryland, I'm like, okay, I guess we have to like her. Maybe we know her, but I don't think so. But I feel like being an executive assistant to someone like a CEO would probably help you a lot in Survivor, especially at like one of those kinds of companies where maybe people aren't the nicest. I feel like that would be very helpful.
Yeah. I mean, Huntington, Maryland is in Calvert County. So that's, I think, the Eastern Shore? Question mark? I never know where any of the Maryland counties are. But yeah, we probably don't know her, but we still have to like her because she's from Maryland.
Yeah, I thought the 3 words to describe herself, one of them was feral. I thought this was a great answer. A lot of people are like kind, passionate, caring, loving, love it, feral. That's a new one.
Yeah, I feel like we need people who are stoplight, who aren't like trying to sell themselves as like the coolest person ever. So I feel like feral is definitely interesting. It will be cool to see in challenges if she actually like goes feral. I think Maddie was also another person who said that she like was an ultra marathoner, right? Yeah, she
Yeah.
placed third in an ultra marathon, and you know that's pretty sweet. And like she said, I'm not as buff as everyone else, but I can at least run far. So
Yeah, her and the other ultra marathoner guy can bond if they're on the same tribe or make it to the merge together. I'm gonna start using feral in my day to day. I'm like, yeah, that's feral. I'm feral. That's a great adjective. I just love it. Maddie
yeah,
also says that she likes to do things that scare her or feel impossible. I like that mindset. It gives me Cody live-in vibes there. So it seems like, okay, she's spontaneous. She wants to push herself. She wants to do all of these things, get these experiences. She says she's one of 5 sisters and she's the middle of the 5. So I do wonder if that will help her out in Survivor, like a large family, and you're the middle one, because I feel like with 5 kids, the 2 oldest sisters would be close, and then the 2 youngest sisters will be close. The middle one is sort of like the odd one out. And so I wonder if she had that growing up.
I think that depends on the ages of
Yes.
like the sisters, though. Like I don't think you can necessarily say that like, oh, the older two are definitely going to be closer because like, what if it was the oldest and then 3 years and then the next oldest, then a year, then Maddie. Like it would be natural for the two of them to be closer because they're closer in age then. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's true depending on the ages. I always or like it's a saying, oh, if you have 3 kids, you want like the same gender to be the first and the third and then you want the middle kid to be the one of the different gender. So it's like they have something special as like the middle kid. The whole like middle child syndrome.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm technically a middle child on a bare technicality. So
Yes, technically, but I guess with your age thing, you and your twin sister would be closer than your brother.
yes, which is why I was thinking about the age thing. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I
so
guess
that
you need to
seems
know.
fun.
I think she seems fun. She's funny. Also, in one of the answers, she said she made the hottest guy from NYU date her for the last 7 years, which is, talking about herself and her current partner, probably, unless she just talks random like that. But I'm like, okay, dang, yeah, like, gas up your partner. I love it.
Yeah. Good times.
So, next up, we have Bruce, who is 46 from Rhode Island, still in Rhode Island, and he is an insurance agent. His Q&A answers truly reminded me of how someone older would text. All of his sentences were just like single subject sentences, disjointed ideas. For the player he would play most like, his answer is literally Jeremy Collins, period. I would identify most with him, period. His sense of family and commitment, period. I would play like Jeremy Collins, period. That's how an older person would text.
Yeah,
Seriously.
I feel like he would be the person to text me and be like, "What does the eggplant emoji mean?" And they'd have to be like, "Oh, Bruce." So I love that his name is Bruce, by the way. Like, that's such a good name that I feel like we don't get to hear often enough.
And a pink shirt. I like it. Nice polo here.
Goes back to our judging people based on their fashion sense.
Yeah, we're going to be Bryce Isaiah soon, but Bruce, um I think he like in the video came across a lot better than in the Q&A answers, which sounded so disjoint. In the video, he talks about being a chameleon, which I like that. Like, okay, can he change by who he's talking to, change what he's saying, change to fit what the other people are like, and get people to talk to him? He has a lot of very, very calm energy in the video. So I liked that. He seems like a very chill guy, got that calm energy.
Yeah, he seems like he'd be a fun guy. I think it's difficult because when people call themselves chameleons, sometimes that can result in them getting stepped on. So
Mm. I guess that'll be interesting to see in the show. For me, it seems like okay, Chameleon would relate to him. He said he grew up adopted into a white family, how he was in the foster care system at the age of 2 and he wasn't adopted until he was 7 years old. Then he also talks about how now he has a family, he's a husband and a father. So like from his previous experiences, I could see he probably means chameleon in like the being able to talk to people sense, hopefully, and not like a oh, I'm gonna let people walk all over me sense.
yeah, but he's the one that I feel like I didn't get the best read on just because his bio answers were so short. And while his video like did give more, I feel like I tend to rely on the bio answers more because I can reread them more often than I can watch the video. But
True. I think he might be the oldest man of the season, so he could have dad energy, also has kids, so he could relate to the other parents about that.
yeah, I think it's weird because he's old enough to have dad energy, but he's not really old enough to be anyone else's dad except like maybe Carson because Carson is so young. But like when everyone else is like late 20s, early 30s, it's like being 40, 47, 49,
46, yeah.
46. How'd I get that wrong? Being 46, like he's not really old enough to be like a 35-year-old's dad. So, yeah.
Yeah, young dad energy. The cool dad, the cool uncle.
Yeah.
So next we have Sarah, who is 27 from Minnesota, now in Illinois. She is a management consultant. I like this dress. I love this green color. I do wonder if this is the dress she's going to start the show in, because I love the dress. I'd wear it out, but personally, I would not
It
want
does
to
not
wear
look
this.
like a good island
Yes.
dress.
Yes. I was like, not good for the show. I would want Heidi's long dress, because with the long dress, you can keep your legs warm. This is tight and it has a big hole in the center. It would not be warm at all if you're trying to like curl into a ball or if it's raining. So I hope she can get a different outfit.
Yes, I hope that she has something warmer to wear. So,
But Sarah, she seems very athletic and outdoorsy. She talks about liking biking, working out, playing beach volleyball, eating raw food, and drinking sweet drinks. So I want to know what the raw food she eats are and what the drinks she likes are. It's like raw food. Is she eating like sushi or like cookie batter, or is she eating like meat raw?
well, there's like also the whole diet fad of the raw diet where like you're allowed to cook things, but they can't reach a certain temperature. So, like, that was kind of where my mind went.
Mm.
Like, is she doing the raw diet? But yeah. Sarah also talked about how her best friend Kaylee passed away unexpectedly 2 years ago, and how that's like had a really big effect on her life. And yeah, I think that'll be interesting. I feel like on Survivor, we get a lot of people talking about grief and like
Mm-hmm.
getting through like losing the people that meant the most to them. And I feel like, especially after like the past 3 years that have been COVID, a lot of people have stories about grief because a lot of people died during COVID. So, yeah.
Yeah, and how grief and like losing a loved one, how it has changed their perspective on life. I guess very similar to like Cody, or we heard, I think Sarah in 41 talk about her grandmother passing away from COVID, stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how and if she channels that kind of energy into the show. Like, okay, let me play like it's my second time because YOLO.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Matthew, who is 43, from Ohio, still in Ohio, and he is a barber shop owner. There's
Yeah,
Matthew.
he was the one who had the fun shirt that I liked. I couldn't see what pattern was on the shirt, but I like that.
True, barbershop owner, maybe him and Jam Jam as the other like salon, barber, hair care owner. Maybe they bond if they ever link up together because of that. Matthew also has really nice hair. You can't see it in this photo, but in the video, he has very long hair. It's pulled back here, and he's got that nice beard. So I'm like, okay, looks like someone who is good with hair. So he seems nice and fun and very outdoorsy. I think from the preview we saw that played at the end of 42, Matthew might be the person that was climbing that big rock and then potentially falls off the rock at the beginning. So hopefully he's not hurt or like medevaced from that.
Yeah, he just seems like kind of a quirky guy. His like pet peeves were misformed popsicles and like odd numbers. So, like, go off, Matthew. So
Yo,
yeah.
I wrote quirky down in my notes too. He dislikes the color combination of purple and white. I was like, okay, they should have purple and white tribes. Make it the
Yeah.
merch color or the flag. It just annoy him. Why purple and white though? I feel like purple and white go well together.
That's why it's a pet peeve, man.
I know. I need to know why, because I'm like, a nice lilac purple with white. It looks nice.
I feel like also he said in his pet peeves that he doesn't like people who talk in circles. So that's going to be rough for him on Survivor. So
Oh, and the odd days, he just you can't talk to him on days 1, 3, 5, 7, or if he gets
3,
voted
5,
out on
7,
an odd
9.
number day, oh, he can never live it down.
He's gonna be like, this is the reason I don't like odd numbers. So
Yeah, voted out on day 15, but I get he's got those outdoorsy vibes. He says he's always outside in the forest, climbing trees, swimming, surrounded by friends and nature. I feel like if Matthew wasn't a barbershop owner and if he wore plaid, I could see him totally being off the grid kind of lumberjack dude.
mm-hmm. Also, with Matthew, he's gay. He talks about his husband Dale, and they seem like such a sweet couple. Because Matthew says that he fell in love with me before I knew how to love myself, and I was like, oh,
Mm.
I love you. So, yeah, I think uh, sexuality diversity is one thing that they're also trying to do more of. So I know that Matthew is gay, and then there's someone else who is also gay, whose name I'm already forgetting. Josh? Yeah, I think Josh is also gay. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, there's actually a handful of like LGBTQ plus castaways. Multiple people mentioned their sexuality or having a partner in their Q&A. So that's really, really cool to see.
Yeah. Love it. Love to see it.
So, next up, we've got Helen, who is 29 from Massachusetts, now in California, and she's a product manager. She says being a PM as her job, she has the ideas, but she has no power. She needs to convince other people to fulfill these ideas. It's basically a big exercise in persuasion, which I thought was interesting. Like, okay, maybe this job will be useful for Survivor, because a lot of people talk about like, yeah, my day job, it was going to be so good for Survivor, and then it doesn't really translate, or it's not actually like a one-to-one kind of match. So I am interested to see, okay, does being a product manager do those skills, talking to people, leading presentations, being in team settings, leading a team, does that help you in Survivor?
She also says that she has been watching Survivor for a decade. So I feel like she probably has thought a lot about how her job can help her in Survivor. She's been a Survivor fan that long. And another thing, she said that she can clear an expert level of Minesweeper in under 2 minutes. So that's some like logical thinking there, which might not be helpful in like the actual game part, but like in challenges, being able
Mm.
to logic, that's good. It would be great if Jeff just had a giant Minesweeper game.
Okay, what is Minesweeper?
You don't know what Minesweeper is?
No, I read that answer and I was like, "Oh, that's cool, I guess." I don't know what it is.
So it's a computer game where they like lay out a grid, and each square of the grid is either a mine or not. And when
Mm,
you click a square, it tells you how many of the surrounding um, squares are mines. So like if you click a corner square and it has the number 3, that means that all the other 3 squares around it are mines. And so you then have to use your logic to figure out where all the mines are and where all the safe spots are. And then you get points for like how quickly you clear it, and also for not hitting any of the mines. So
oh, that's impressive then, under 2 minutes, yeah, she could be
yeah.
probably really good at puzzles then.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Helen, a smart lady, she says she was a part of different communities growing up, learning to adapt to the norms of each of them. That could be good for Survivor, meeting all of these new people from many different walks of life. I feel like Helen, she just seems friendly, like a nice person.
Yeah, she also kind of threw it back a little with her players she'll play most like, because she said Tina and Sophie. And I feel like Tina has been off of people's radar for quite a while because, she didn't come back for Winners at War. And then Sophie, I guess more people remember Sophie because she came back from Winners at War, but I feel like she was still never like a particularly popular winner. So, yeah, real Survivor fan, real throwback.
So next we have Josh, who is 34 from Ohio in Georgia now, and he is a surgical podiatrist. I think Josh also very inspiring. He is like literally the definition of a survivor in real life. He says he was born with prune belly syndrome. He had a kidney transplant at the age of 9 years old. He developed stomach cancer at 25, had his stomach removed, and then had to relearn how to eat. And he's now living cancer free. And so, like, literally, he has gone through so much in his life. In his Q&A, he also mentions his kidney donor, Kristen, by name, and I thought that was really, really nice.
Yeah. I This brought up like one of my questions that I always have. Like, if someone on Survivor has to take medication, are they like allowed to take medication? Because like immunosuppressants aren't something that you should like skip. So I wonder if he's like allowed to have his immunosuppressants on the island. And then a lot of these also require you to like take them with food. So it's like,
Mm.
is he getting special rice and peanut butter that he can use to take his immunosuppressants? So
True. I feel like you'd have to give people their medication like that. Otherwise, you'd be, like, barring a lot of people from being able to play if they weren't allowed to have their medication.
yeah, but like props to Josh because I feel like that would be really scary to like go into a situation where you know like you might not be having a lot of food after having had stomach cancer and relearning to eat. Like that
Mhm.
sounds like it could be a really like triggering situation. So good for him.
Yeah, Josh, so inspiring. He's a doctor now, talks about going through med school and everything. So he's got to be smart, strong to finish all of this schooling. He talks about dealing with patients every single day, which I feel like would be very helpful as someone who like works in that kind of client facing field. So like how do you talk to people? How do you deliver bad news? How do you deal with potentially people angry with you or the care that your nurses or other people are providing. And he says he's going to lie about being a doctor though, so I do want to know like what job is he going to say?
Yeah, maybe he'll just say he's a podiatrist without mentioning like the surgical podiatrist part. I don't know.
Yeah, because I guess, okay, med school, people are going to judge you. They're going to think you're automatically smart. But if you like delete all of that from your life and don't, if you, I don't know, personal trainer or something, and he's not a doctor, because he could pass as a personal trainer. He's buff. I'm like, dang, you just like deleted, 12 years of your life. What are you going to say you did all those years?
Yeah, maybe he was a personal trainer the whole time.
Yeah, I'm like, I need to talk to Josh because I got a bad foot. So I need his advice.
Yeah.
But next up, we have Jamie, who is 35 from Arizona, still in Arizona, and she is a yogi. She didn't really mention her other job, but in the video, she said she quit being a marketing consultant. So it seems like she was previously a marketing consultant and now she's a yoga instructor or yogi. She says she quit a 10-year career to follow her dreams. So I like that energy. That could be very scary. Like, okay, I'm going to quit my corporate job to go and follow this more spiritual path that I'm interested in. So, like, good for her to do that. And I feel like that could be helpful in Survivor. Like, let me take the risky move. Let me do this thing, even if I'm scared of doing it.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of the plot of a lot of like movies of like, you know,
True.
miserable businesswoman quits her job to find her true passion.
And falls in love.
Yeah. Maybe Survivor will be where she falls in love.
Yeah, I feel like Jamie in the video, she had very calm and chill vibes. She's got a very nice smile, like very friendly. And so I feel like she could very well like draw people into her because she's got that fun, like welcoming energy. And it's probably from the yoga and everything. But she's got good vibes on video, that calm energy. She talked about manifesting, and I'm like, okay, we like it.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Can she manifest the Survivor win? We don't know.
Yeah, like Cassidy, we got the manifesting fox energy.
I'm still a little bit bitter, but it's fine.
Coming up, last three people. We've got Kane, who is 25 from Moose Jaw, Canada, still in Canada, and he's a law student. I just like the name Moose Jaw. I was like, that's a cool place.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I realize I know nothing about the Canadian legal system. So I was kind of just like, law students in Canada? Question mark? So
For me, I'm like, okay, Kane to me does not look 25.
I feel like it's the hair. Like the hair looks very like dad from the 80s, but like in a good way between the hair and the glasses.
Yeah, he was giving me like Daniel vibes. Maybe I don't know, by look, but also they're both like lawyers. I don't know. I'm like, Kane could be like 30 plus, I think, if he lied about his
Maybe
age.
I was gonna say maybe you should lie and say that you're in your 30s because people trust 30-year-olds more than 25-year-olds.
Yeah, true. Because Kane technically at 25 is on the younger end. Like I maybe the third youngest person out there. So maybe he could lie, but also what's he gonna say he's doing in those extra years?
Yeah.
You
Kane
add 6 years.
also was one of those people who like didn't really say much in his bio. I'm kind of like, who are you? Like, I know that he likes Survivor and his dog. That's about
Yeah, I
it.
wrote down he named his dog Survivor, which I thought was funny. That's cute.
I didn't think that was the name of his dog. I thought that it was like caring for my dog, comma,
Oh,
Survivor. Yeah. Yeah, I
oh,
kind
so
of had the
Survivor's
same.
separate?
Yes, I think Survivor. It would be really funny if you named your dog Survivor. I'm
Oh,
going to name my next animal Jeff Roast.
that's
I
lame
just
then. Who says that their hobby's Survivor? Obviously you like the show. I thought the dog was Survivor.
would you not say that Survivor is one of your hobbies?
Well, I'd probably do the Carson route and talk like he talked about 3D puzzles. I'd say like, yeah, whatever. But I wouldn't say survive like comma Survivor.
Yeah. I also
Dang,
thought
now I'm so disappointed.
I also thought it was funny. He said that he has the effortless charisma of a younger and more handsome Tyson. That's kind of like you go.
Yeah, for me, I'm like Tyson is my like one of my Survivor crushes. So you can't be a more handsome Tyson.
Uh,
Sorry, Kane. But
Sorry, Kane. I think it's funny because it's like I do not when I look at him, I do not see any sort of adjacency to Tyson. So that just feels like a weird
mm,
simile.
maybe he's got that like snarky attitude. If Kane has that, I'd be like, okay, that I like that. Like we like those people that give those cutting, maybe a little bit rude confessionals, but good sense of humor. That's a win.
Yeah, it's hard to tell via text. I guess in his video, I didn't really see that, but
Yeah. I'm like, dang, 25, Kane is our age. I guess same with Claire, the first woman we talked about, 25. But
yeah,
Kane says he's the best negotiator. He won a national negotiation competition for his Canadian law school. So I'm like, okay, Angelina, we like it. Can he be sort of like out there with his confessionals?
Natalie,
Will he
can I
hurt?
have your jacket? Your
Yeah,
jacket?
that's good
Your
TV.
jacket?
So
Yeah,
Kane will be interesting. I feel like he looks very intelligent from the photo, like sort of. I guess like I was saying Daniel or maybe Jacob Derwin. So maybe that's not a good thing.
yeah. I think he's one of those people I definitely want to like wait and see what's going on with him.
Yeah. So next up, we've got Franny, who is 23 from Minnesota, now in Massachusetts, and she's a research coordinator. Similar to saying feral as one of the 3 words, one of Franny's 3 words was zesty.
Zesty, I
I
love
loved it.
that.
I'm going to start using that one too. Feral and zesty.
Yeah, I am super zesty. But yeah, I think Franny is the youngest person on the cast at 23.
Or I guess Carson. I think she's the
Oh, right.
second youngest.
I totally forget that Carson exists. Just like in my mind, she's already voted out. Sorry, Carson. So, uh, yeah, she seems like she's definitely filling in that like quirky, nerdy girl stereotype. Like she says that she identifies most with Gabby and Aubrey, and I feel like those are the two like quirky, nerdy girl stereotypes that I always think about when I think about that stereotype, that
Yeah.
archetype, if you will. So
When we mentioned the deja vu at the beginning of this episode, I feel like Franny gives me Evie vibes. Like they're both very intelligent, both I think Franny went to Harvard too. Like they give that smart, nerdy vibe. So I definitely see that kind of archetype they're going for with Franny.
Yeah.
But she also says that she gives off anxious energy. And I really felt that when she was in the video interview. I'm like, oh, I can feel that through the screen, which is like awkward, fun, quirky, which isn't a bad thing. So I think it can make people very like endearing to you, sort of similar to like that Gabby energy. I felt it through the screen when she says she gives off anxious energy. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. It comes through the screen.
Yeah, I also give off anxious energy, so like I feel her.
So she says she worked at a nail salon for 5 years. She's had grown adults screaming at her about nails. And so I can imagine working there for that many years is probably going to translate well to Survivor. Like we always talk about those like client facing jobs where you're interacting with a lot of different people, especially when you're providing a service like this. Maybe she can relate to the people that own or work in like the hair salons because it's a sort of similar kind of service that they're providing. That could be good, especially because Franny's younger. She could relate to like Jam Jam. And Matthew was the other person there. So that's good. Franny, very intelligent. She says she scored a perfect score on the MCAT. And I'm like, holy crap. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like getting a perfect score on any standardized test is difficult, but like the MCAT, especially, like yikes.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, girl, is she going to go to med school later and she's doing like the research stuff in between? Because she probably is only like 1 year out of undergrad at 23. I'm like, dang, perfect score on the MCAT or LSAT. Like, you're a good test taker, probably very smart.
Yeah, I'm also kind of confused because like did she just decide not to go to medical school? Like why would you put yourself through the MCAT if you're not going to medical school?
Yeah, maybe in the future wanted to work first, take a gap year, and like took the test like senior year of college. Because people do that, right? Like I know people they take the LSAT senior year, but then they work and then they just use the score later. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, dang, I aspire to be Franny.
I also aspire to be Franny.
But she also's got calm vibes. She says she worked at a center for mindfulness. She does daily yoga and mindfulness meditation, so that could be good relating to people like Jamie, who was the yogi. Other people here got that calm energy, probably do yoga on the side. So I'm like, dang, Franny could be a jack of all trades.
Yeah, she needs the yoga to keep her anxious energy in check.
Yeah, with all that studying for the MCAT. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Last but not least, we've got Brandon, who is 30 from Pennsylvania, still in Pennsylvania, and he is a security specialist. You might recognize him if you watch football because he was previously in the NFL. Speaking of football, we got the Super Bowl today. He's probably very excited for the Eagles playing. But Brandon, I do wonder if people would recognize him. Maybe not because people, didn't recognize Danny, who is also an NFL player. He says he played for the Seattle Seahawks. Nobody from this cast is from Seattle, so maybe people won't recognize him.
I actually looked up his Wikipedia page and I'm not sure that he even like played a game for the Seahawks because it sounds like he was on injury reserve for quite a bit. Like I don't see any stats or anything on his Wikipedia page about, his like actual playing stats and normally they have those. So, oh wait, I can look at his player stats at NFL.com. Let me look.
Dang, you're just.
Well, I was also curious, like, how big of a football player he
Mm,
is. So, like, I, for one, have no concept of how, like, famous different football players are. So I was hoping that his Wikipedia page would help me out. So,
okay. Yeah, because I'm like, certain people get recognized from a sport, but some people don't. So, yeah, I guess there's different popularity, especially for a sport like football. You have to be on like a winning team. A lot of people only really know the quarterbacks or some of the like super good players on the team because there's so many people on each of these teams.
Yeah, NFL.com doesn't have any stats for him.
Oh,
So,
dang. So, but I
yeah.
mean, to get even on an NFL team, that's really awesome. That takes a lot of hard work and dedication. He's probably athletic for the challenges. He's tall, looks very strong and fit. So you might keep him around as an asset for these challenges. I think by being on a team sport, and I'm like, okay, you're doing football throughout middle school, high school, college, in order to get to the NFL, he seems like he would be someone that's very good at bringing together a team, creating that morale and like camaraderie of like, okay, we are a team, you know, go Bulldogs, that kind of thing. Like, let's work together. And I feel like from his experiences in football, he could be a good sort of hopefully not like a team leader kind of thing or not like a coach kind of thing, but someone who can bring the morale of the team up even if they lose challenges.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think within a team, like a sports team, and doesn't necessarily have to be that every player is the one who can bring morale up. Like maybe he's just a good team player without being the like rah 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 type person.
Mm.
And I think in some ways that's even better because like it can be really annoying to be told like it's okay, champ, we'll get him next time when you're really pissed off about something.
Everything
So
happens for a reason.
yeah. So
But Brandon seems cool. He's a jack of all trades, similar to Franny. He says he's a pilot. He plays the piano. He does magic tricks. I'm like, okay, that's not really something you'd expect from like a professional athlete doing all these things. So I'm like, okay, dang, he's got some depth to him.
yeah. So I also am curious about like his current job as a security specialist. Like, what does a security specialist do? What? That's a different aside.
Yeah, I guess he'll talk about it on the show, or probably not. I feel like they'll just talk about him in the NFL. They'll skip over that stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah, so that is all 18 of the Survivor Season 44 castaways. Our initial thoughts, just based off of the short bios and the little videos that are posted. What are your thoughts of the cast? For me, I'm so excited. I cannot believe March 1st is 2 weeks away, which is insane. I'm so excited for the season.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this season. I will be interested to see how these people's personalities kind of smash together. So let us know what you think in the comments down below, and we will see you guys soon for our tribe reaction. Have a great week, guys. Bye.